Alrighty, folks. So tell me about your week. What you noticed. What you noticed tonight. You're all resting. I do appreciate that it is hard to come out of the meditation and talk. I certainly would have that problem too. And I haven't been doing it in this class, but we may at some point do the small group thing, which I think is nice, just to check in with one other person. It's a little less intimidating than a whole group. So, Susan, go ahead.
Hi. I really found the question that you had us ask ourselves is, what if our heart showed up with the breath? And I was wondering if you could say more about how to make that happen, because I can do the breathing, but when it gets down to my heart, I feel like I can't bring it out. I can't open it up. So
Yeah.
maybe you could help with that.
What did you feel when I said that?
I thought, wow, show me how to do that.
Okay. Well,
That's what
that's
I
a
thought.
thought. What did you feel?
Uh-huh. I felt like I've tried, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that.
Okay. So maybe there was some self doubt right there.
Yes, I
But
guess.
you also said something rather enthusiastically, I have to say. Show me
Wow.
how to do that.
Right.
Yeah. So that's your heart. You know, you may be more oriented to noticing what your thought is than like the feeling that's propelling it. But there's like excitement and there's self doubt and fear that's mixed in with that. Okay, so that might be a way to begin. Is as you want to bring your heart to your breath, you do have to acknowledge like what's real in your heart right now. Oh, I don't think I can do that. Breathe. Breathe with I don't think I can do that, and see what you notice. Breathe with the enthusiasm. Oh, please show me how to do that. uh, you breathe with that. I don't know exactly how it's going to unfold, but I think that's the path to its unfolding. You really actually take the heart where it is, because it's communicating, and and it's a kind of a process to let it actually be there with the breath. Um, so thanks for asking that question.
Thanks for the answer. It helps me.
Okay, good.
Give it a
Yeah,
try.
yeah. No, it's these questions are so helpful because sometimes I don't always think what needs to be said. All of you contribute to this class in that way. Is you help me to find what needs to be said in it. So it's a kind of a collective effort. There's some I could say too. I mean, it's also a possibility that for certain people, there can be aversion to the breath. There can be aversion to meditation. And even people who have been meditating for years can sometimes go through these periods. But that's also the heart. It's kind of what's possessing the heart at the moment. And so you can actually breathe with your aversion, which is just the awareness of the aversion. But you have to do it with the knowledge. You have to kind of, there's a sleight of hand that the mind does when it's feeling aversion, and it puts the problem out here. So the problem is with the breath. The breath is boring, right? And so you have to kind of see through that sleight of hand in order to see, oh, the heart is feeling aversion. And you can breathe with that. Right now it's possessed by not liking something. It's possessed by boredom. So I'd love it if when I say bring your heart to the breath, everybody just is full of enthusiasm and interest and enjoyment. But it's not necessarily the case. And I want to be real about that. But it's still, if you notice it, if you whatever is there, if you meet it in a certain way, it is the heart. All right, Lisa, go ahead.
So this is a perfect moment for me to mention that, and I think I've talked with you about this before. I can't fall in love with the breath because I'm a serious asthmatic, and I spend a lot of my day every day going, was that a wheeze? Was that do I need my nebulizer? You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And and over the past few years, what I've done is I've done these sneaky lamb things where for example, I'll sit on the sofa with my puppy on my lap.
Yeah.
And my puppy will be sound asleep and she'll be like breathing.
She'll breathe for you.
She'll breathe for me. And I somehow or another I can fall in love with her breathing.
Oh, that's a beautiful workaround. Yes.
Which is, well, and then the other thing I'm doing, which I feel like might be, like meditation cheating is, I love to swim. And you mentioned the other day about like, there's nothing quite like the taste of a glass of cold water. And I keep thinking about, I'll get out of the pool, I'll get out of swimming, I'll go in, I'll get my water bottle. I'd love to drink that water at that moment. And I feel like that's like how a fish must feel breathing in the water. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So yeah. I close my eyes and I'm the fish. You know what I mean? Yes. And I try to start meditating that way.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm using these little external things to help me get started.
Beautiful. I think that's helpful. And the general rule, if I can call it a rule in meditating, the reason the breath is chosen is because for most people, it is an anchor that is relatively easy to find and to enjoy. In your case, these other choices might make more sense. You can also do listening. That is, that's often too given as a practice for people who are so traumatized that they have a hard time being in their body. That's a possibility. So listening can be a focus of meditation. You can also pick two different points in your body and feel them and go back and forth between the two. The reason you do the two is you don't want to necessarily just sink into one sensation. You want to have, a sense of the movement that the breath has without it being the breath. So you can do, say, the touch of your seat on the cushion, and then the feel of your hands on your knees, and then the touch of the seat on the cushion, and the feels of your hands on the knees. That also works. I have not done that myself. I've done quite a bit of listening meditation. I find that really, really, it's really its own thing, I have to say. So I would say don't feel it has to be the breath. There are some advantages to breath, so it's unfortunate that you don't get the benefits of those, but these others will work to bring you into the present moment, and there can be a deep enjoyment in both, in listening and the connection that listening creates, and just in the comfort of the body, the being of the body. Well, they're both, I think you can find more enjoyment. I think you could potentially fall in love with the breath, but your mind is in the way. Your mind is afraid. You've had these experiences with breathing. And so you have a protector in your mind that's vigilant. And so you would have to work to relax that protector. But that really is kind of the graduate course. It's not necessarily a place to begin. I'd rather you begin with these easier kinds of things and just get to a place of being and enjoying. Okay? Please bring up challenges as they come. They're good to talk about.
Speaking of very local experience with breathing, and experiencing I am behind my eyes and working down to the upper chest. Some years ago, I put the words together in front of a therapist that I know you can't see it, but I have a brick in my neck, and I still do, and I almost always do. Have a very, very tight and strong grip. And so even in these couple of years of following your body scan, you always say neck and throat.
Right.
And
We don't leave them out.
yeah, I try not to either, but there's almost no sensation available. Um,
Yeah.
but over time, it has, and I've tried to come to some acceptance of it, and that has allowed some space and sensation, and so anyway, these particular directions you've given to move the energy down has allowed me to experience the back of my neck more patiently or inclusively, and it still heightens quite a bit of aversion in passing through there. But
So the acceptance is there sometimes.
sometimes at least the idea of it is around
Exactly.
more than it was just pure I hate this, and it's in the way, and it causes headaches, and it does all kinds of other things. It's really but anyway, yeah, so you're right, the acceptance has shifted some of these abilities to practice.
Great.
And I am enjoying that possibility.
All right. Yeah, I mean, it's great you put your finger on it, that acceptance is actually makes it open up.
Yeah.
Which is kind of confounding to the ego. Yeah, so like acceptance, the state of acceptance is actually the state that allows things to open. And the state of aversion is the state that keeps things stuck. And it's a paradox because your poor mind, your poor heart knows that there's something here that gives you headaches, and it wants to do something about it, but it's kind of powerless. It is powerless. It's not kind of powerless. It is powerless. And so it doesn't work like that. And I'm really talking to everybody now that it's often the case that everybody has something that's kind of an ego buster in their lives and in their experience. Something that they'd like to change, and they're trying hard to do so, doesn't work. And acceptance is a funny thing because it's not something you can just quite directly will. I mean, you can kind of do that. Okay, I'm going to accept this. But, trying to accept something, when I hear someone say they're trying to accept it, it's kind of like saying, I don't accept it. The word trying in itself cues you that, okay, you're not accepting. So let's go with not accepting it. But then, something relaxes and you begin to, something wakes up inside of you. It's not the part of you that tries to be in control. Something else kind of wakes up to the possibility of acceptance and lets it be. Lets it be what it is. But doesn't make it a problem. And that begins to open up new possibilities. So the body scan is a really powerful tool. Part of what you do in the body scan is you give equal time to every part. and it's not perfect, but it's kind of what you do is you go through the body regardless. And most people will find that there are parts of their body that they immediately get a lot of sensation in, and parts of their body they don't feel very well. But nonetheless, you do it all one step at a time. And there's something about the one step at a timeness of it and going through the whole body. It helps people relax around, the places in their body they obsess about. Anytime there's a little like red flag that comes up in the body, something wrong, the mind starts to get obsessed about it. Anytime there's a little pain, it's like, okay, the red flag went up in the brain, and we've got to keep our attention on that and focus on it. And so the body scan is a wonderful technique for bypassing that in a certain way. You can actually, you don't have to obsess about one part. You actually start to feel things you don't normally give any attention to because they're not causing any problem. They're not registering in the mind as a problem. And something about that just really, I think, opens people up. So I love the body scan. Anything else that I want to say to you, JP? If you have any questions, go ahead and unmute or anything to take further. We'll see how this works.
Just in terms, as you spoke about it, I'm remembering other times when I have gone past acceptance and into more of a compassionate space. I find I have more sensation in my chest and my head.
Yeah.
So I'll stay with those areas just to give this some company,
Uh-huh.
or the suggestion of sensation, or we're here for you. I don't know.
No, you hit it on. That's exactly it. Kind of the next step from acceptance is to warm it up with compassion, with actual empathy. For there's something tight there,
Yeah. Yeah.
There's something tight there. There's something held there. There's suffering. There's suffering there. And so I sometimes talk about the body scan as an attention massage, and something in our body itself likes attention. Something in our body takes in when we give places attention. So if you can give loving attention rather than aversive attention, especially, it works really well. So yes, you can warm up acceptance with compassion and love. Great. So Jim,
I've become aware of presence. It's not like it hits me over the head. There's an awareness, almost like a faith that something is happening while I meditate, that I'm getting some help somewhere.
mm-hmm.
And I've become aware that that speaks through other people. It speaks through things that happen in my life. And I'm not questioning it. They're almost like signs that, okay, this is the way I got to do things now. I got to drop this habit, or I got to focus on this over that. So it's hard to speak about, but that's what I'm experiencing.
Okay.
It's sort of a trust.
Yeah. And so try to mute Jim and get people in the habit of doing this. Make Karen's job easier. Yeah, so I think you put your finger on something. An aspect of this that's very important is, and it's a part of presence, is you're noticing how kind of insights or even messages sort of drop in. Some people would even call them messages. And you use the word help, which I think is also indicative of that. This kind of dance that we're doing in the way that we think of there's us and there's not us. And sometimes good things come in from somewhere, and sometimes even in the mind, there are like the thoughts we think of as us. And then kind of out of somewhere, this thought floats in that seems like it's from a different place, right? That can happen in presence. And so it can be like the wisdom mind speaking. That's probably a way that Buddhism would talk about it, that there is a wisdom, heart wisdom, or wisdom mind that can speak to us in the midst of our experience. And it can feel like help from beyond, so to speak. Yeah. So good. Keep listening. Keep tuning in. So, anyone else like to speak? I'll follow my own advice and really taste the water. Lynn.
Hi.
Hi, Lynn.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about today, not that long before meditation. I decided to take a hike up the mountain here in Western Mass, where most people are, to where the summit house is. And I do this very often. I know this path very well. And in the last few years, I've broken my leg twice.
On that path.
Was not at all hiking. Never
Okay.
happens hiking.
All right.
So I was working with just sort of like walking meditation while doing, direct ascent, and just I went out alone so that I could be thinking about my gait and just my presence and the way I'm moving my feet, the same way that you would do in a walking meditation, like we do in your annual retreat. But it's different because there's the whole forest as well. And I just wanted to say that it was like sort of a synthesis of all of these different things, how the presence of each footstep walking all the way through it and having that ability to have that consciousness of, how every footstep is different, just like every breath is different. And it's enjoyable to actually, like, using the word, to have your consciousness like at that level of attentiveness when hiking. And I found that by just saying I was going to do it and doing it alone and being somewhere that I know very well, I was just getting to a pace that was just perfect for it. It was slower, but it wasn't that slow. And I just felt that there was an interbeing thing happening, like in my mindfulness while hiking up, not just going, on a, like I, as you know, go to another Sangha, but Thich Nhat Hanh Sangha, and we walk in a circle. And anyhow, it was really illuminating. Like, I'm looking forward to doing it again. And I was enjoying it.
Lynn, can you say more about interbeing? I know that's a Thich Nhat Hanh word, and that's really a part of the practice, and other people might not know
Yeah.
that word. So
Yeah. I
say what it
don't
means to you.
know. Sure, I don't know what is one kind of lingo to another in Buddhism. So, yeah, well, I mean, interbeing, believe, and I'm sure you know, Mark, the actual, but the idea that we are, in fact, completely connected to everything. So when you are giving us that body scan and then inviting us to be conscious of how the chair supports us, and then the structures of the house are supporting us down into the earth. I believe that's part of my idea of interbeing. And with Thich Nhat Hanh meditation ideas, sometimes I can meditate up to the canopy of a tree and then down into the earth, just as part of the meditation. And anyway, that's what I think it means, and it's very, it's very beautiful. And don't it doesn't mean that I can immediately like look at a what I consider an inanimate object in the house and actually feel interbeing with it. Like I'm looking at this cork board here. I'm not I haven't achieved
It's
that.
a little hard to feel that. Yeah.
But I mean, it's a beautiful connectiveness to meditation, I think.
Thank you. Thanks for just explaining that a little bit. It's not a word that I mean, I've heard it, of course. I've read Thich Nhat Hanh, but it's not a word I use regularly in my practice. And, my language might be a little more like separation falls away.
Yeah.
And when separation falls away, that is what you feel, is that it's, it's all being. Yes. So, yeah, maybe the corkboard is a little difficult, but it's, yeah, the woods are an easier place to practice that.
Yeah,
All right.
that's for sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, we got just a little time left here. Anybody have another share or question? Okay, Sandy.
Hey, so this is just a little about my week. I just took a road trip with my husband. My niece got married in Chicago. And so it was fun, and I was looking forward to seeing family for the most part. But this is all my husband's family, and there's a lot of very conservative folks, and it can be a little fraught with a lot of life and what's going on in the world. And I'm reminded pretty regularly by the wonderful person that I'm married to that I don't always have to share my thoughts on the current events, and maybe I can just dial it back. And so I'm like really rehearsing that and really trying to be cognizant of that. And I found that what worked, what ultimately was the connecting thing, is that we have all these new babies in the family. And so there were like 3 little ones under the age of 3, and like seeing all of these people who sometimes really make me crazy, just loving on these beautiful little babies, and just finding the commonality in that made for a really lovely weekend. And it allowed the rest of it to bubble back to where it needed to be, which is just background noise. And so it was just a weekend of kind of loving on each other, and it was nice.
Well, thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
bringing us along.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe we'll end there. So, just a reminder for the week, your words are rest and enjoy, to bring that to your sitting practice and your life more broadly. And come back and tell me what happened. I always like to hear a report. Okay, have a good week.